when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers, I know that Jimmy G is no scrub. I know that he can play. But I think of a multitude of layers before I even get to him. I think about their defensive line. I think about their secondary. On the offensive side of the ball, I think about their running game. And I think about their coach and his play calling ability. That's before I even think about Jimmy Garoppolo. When it comes to the Baltimore Ravens, the first and last thought I have is Lamar Jackson. That's the difference.
I agree, but that's why I learned a little more about Jimmy G. I mean, like, how much are you really going to learn in a regular season game? And you know, we said at the San Francisco 49ers, it's, what is it, 10 a.m. their time biologically, right? Because they're on the East Coast, and they played well and everything. But Lamar Jackson is one of those guys where physically you know what he can do, including the accuracy of his down-the-field passing game. Like when you look at what he did as a 21-year-old, most accurate passer who ever lived, 22, he's more accurate than he was at 21. And we know he can run, obviously. Yeah, we learned that with the game on the line, because he hasn't been in a whole lot of close ones recently, he can make clutch plays too. That's a little more evidence that he's this great MVP player. The thing about Jimmy G, and the reason I learned a little bit more about him maybe than Lamar Jackson yesterday, is that there are some guys who can't physically do what Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, those guys, or even guys like Carson Wentz is capable of a lot physically. And with those guys, it's not so much like they need extra credit. I'll leave Wentz out of it. They need extra credit for leadership or for being the kind of guy who can make a big play with the game on the line. There are some players who need that extra credit, for us to really believe in them, because their stats otherwise and their play otherwise are more pedestrian than the superstars. Jimmy G was not that kind of player actually yesterday. That's why I get on Baker Mayfield. I felt like Baker was the kind of guy who could make that happen. When he doesn't, I'm like, oh, if you don't have that, then you really are just pedestrian. Dak Prescott, too. When Dak is not doing that stuff, it's like, well, okay, now we're just going to judge you talent for talent. Jimmy G, there were pivotal moments. It's still a game. He did not run the offense smoothly enough. Even that touchdown pass, a 50-50 ball, he chucked it up there. He got lucky, which is, sometimes you got to do that. You have to have that quality in you to take the shot. But there were points late in the game, especially where I'm like, come on, Jimmy G, if you're accurate there, if you hand the ball off, if you run that play more smoothly, you'll pick up positive yards. You'll get more out of that play. And he didn't do it. Lamar Jackson's a sensational quarterback. He's an MVP with or without that stuff. And the fact that he has it, kudos. Jimmy G needs that stuff. If he doesn't have that, then he's just a game manager.
But do you think, Max, here's my question to you. Jimmy G needs it so we can talk about him in that manner, or maybe so he can just live up to the contract that he's received. But do you believe Jimmy G's that guy? Because I don't. I've said all season, I believe that Jimmy G is on this team to make sure that they don't lose, and he is good enough to keep them there.
I think he is that guy. I think that's why they're 5-0 with him. He gets hurt. They're the worst team in the league. He comes back. They're 10-2. I
have a question for Stephen A. Stephen A., I know how highly you think of Lamar Jackson, but are you confident he can do that again against this Niners defense?
I think he can, because I think he'd be more formidable in better weather. And I think the thing that you have to pay attention to, and like I'm with Ryan, I've never been sold on Jimmy G. You know that.
Yeah.
I love the name Poor Star Jimmy. I think it's entirely appropriate. He deserves it, and it's not an insult. But having said all of that, I want to say this. Jimmy G, if you look at him throw the football, there's a lot of times when you look at Breida or you look at Mostert, you look at Kittle, Deebo Samuel. I mean, this brother can ball. We see Emmanuel Sanders. That's been a big pickup, etc. You look at people around him doing things. There are times when he makes a play, and you know what you say to yourself? Damn, what a great call by Kyle Shanahan. Not a great play by Jimmy G. And then we look at Lamar Jackson, and we marvel at the improvement in his throwing ability from last year to this year. And then we look at the Baltimore Ravens. They have the #1 rushing attack in football. He is the leading rusher for the team. He's got 977 yards rushing in 12 games. I decided to look up Jimmy G's numbers running the football. So just running the football. You know what Jimmy G's numbers are? 36 rushes, 46 yards. He ain't going nowhere. He's a stationary target for the most part, okay? He might dance a little bit in the pocket, but he's a relatively stationary target. So if you're going to be that kind of guy, we need to see Drew Brees. We need to see Tom Brady. We need to see Kenny Stabler from back in the old days. We need to see somebody like that. If you're not going to move, and you're just going to be standing in the pocket flinging the football. I need to see you throw it better than he has. Whereas with Lamar Jackson, I'm looking at a dude, the ball is in his hands, and it doesn't matter what he does. John Harbaugh has said, take us there. I don't see Kyle Shanahan saying,
I don't think, but Ryan, I don't think, see, my point is I don't need to see Drew Brees out of Jimmy G.
No, and
I need to see a game manager who can come through under pressure in those kind of close games.
No,
and in the moment of truth, he didn't.
That was the point I was going to
though.
make. Even in watching Jimmy G, I do believe he's made enough plays throughout this season in some of the moments that this team can still win a Super Bowl. And I don't necessarily believe you can say that about every quarterback in this league on every team, but Jimmy G and the San Francisco 49ers have that chance, and he's made enough of those plays. I just don't believe when it comes between guys like these two that he will outplay Lamar in those moments.
And that's what it's going to come down to, Ryan. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
When you're talking about a Super Bowl championship on the line, you're going to run against those guys. I didn't bring up Drew Brees and Tom Brady to be literal. I'm speaking about them metaphorically. Excuse me, when you sit up there and you're a stationary target, you need to be able to pick a defense apart. Kyle Shanahan is the one we give credit to. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.